Hi, I'm Jeff Bloomberg and I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at MGE. And what I'm getting this week is a series of tips on overhead, specifically what we call the 6 overhead hotspots. Now, we call them hotspots because these are areas that tend to go out of control very quickly and cost doctors a lot of their profitability. And these tips are all going to be a little longer than usual. Try not to make them too long. I do talk too much. But the idea behind it is I want to give you some content that you can take and actually start applying to your situation. So we're going to cover these hotspots, and then what we're going to do is actually get into potential solutions for them, how you can recover some of that lost profitability. So what are the overhead hotspots? Let's take a look at them. Now, the first one may surprise you. The first one is actually inadequate income, okay? The second one is payroll expense. The third one is debt or debt service, loans, leases, lines of credit. The fourth one is marketing expenses. The fifth one is labs. And the sixth one is supplies, specifically dental supplies, okay? So let's talk about our first one, inadequate income. Now, why is this an overhead hotspot? If you look at the subject of overhead, because in a lot of cases you'll be asked, what's your overhead percentage? Well, how does that work? What is it a percentage of? It's a percentage of your income, your collections. So an office that's collecting $60,000 a month with an overhead of $40,000 has an overhead percentage of 66%. Now, if you were to do a few minor tweaks and get that office collecting $80,000, well, gee, all of a sudden their overhead's 50%. Do you see? So the first area, if I'm working with somebody, because generally when people have expenses that are out of control, because there's nothing more frustrating than working hard and not really getting properly compensated for it. The first area I normally look at is why is the practice underproducing, which is the problem in about 90% of cases. And here's the other thing is what I see with a lot of those folks who come in with that situation, not enough profit, is they're trying to target all these areas to save money, which I'm 100% in agreement with. I disagree with wasting money. But in a lot of cases, that's not always the problem. A lot of what the problem is that they're not actually producing at a level that the office potentially could produce, or collecting, rather, is the better way of saying it. It's sort of like a car, all right? I don't want to lose people with a car example, but let's say you have a car that's supposed to get 20 miles a gallon. But, you got tires, the tire pressure's low, your air filter's dirty, your fuel injector's not working properly, 2 of your spark plugs are bad. Well, that car gets 10 miles to the gallon. With a couple, it's still a car, it still gets you from point A to point B, but it's not operating efficiently. By changing a few small things, all of a sudden you're getting 20 miles to the gallon. The same thing applies to a dental office, okay? By fixing a few small things, I'm not talking about pie in the sky, adding 5 more chairs, doing this, doing that, adding all these expenses to produce more. I'm talking about a couple small things, which usually you adjust them and then all of a sudden the place produces more. As an example, the biggest one that you could normally adjust that would immediately address your income or inadequate income is case acceptance. Generally speaking, it takes a doctor the same length of time to present a treatment plan that a patient doesn't agree to, that they do agree to. You present a $5,000 case for needed treatment, patient agrees, took you 20 minutes. Patient doesn't agree, took you 20 minutes. What's the difference? Office does $5,000, patient gets the treatment that they need. So how we see this is we'll have clients come in, usually one of the first services they do, and I'm not pushing the service, I'm just trying to give you an example, is the MGE Communication and Sales Seminars. We'll have clients come to one seminar, then they come back to the next seminar, and you see all the hands go up. Anybody who's had any great results since they've been home? Yeah, I'm up. I was doing 40,000. I'm up to 60,000. What'd you change? I learned how to present treatment better. That's it. They didn't hire more staff. They didn't add a chair. They didn't spend $10,000 on marketing. They just changed how they were presenting treatment. And if you know what you're doing, it's a lot easier to get a result than if you don't. I was joking with our designer the other day. We have an incredible graphic designer on staff here at MG. He's more than a graphic designer. He's actually in charge of all of our multimedia. He's filming this right now. I was joking with him that in 10 minutes, he could fix something that would take me 6 hours to get a worse result on because he knows what he's doing, okay? So generally speaking, the first overhead hotspot or trouble spot is inadequate income. And that's the first area you'd want to address when trying to sort that out, unless there was some grossly out of control overhead spot, okay? And we're going to cover all the rest of them in the next few tips, but I wanted to throw that one out there first because that's the first area I would look at if I were trying to improve my overhead as a percentage overall or my profitability. Now, as we go through these tips, we have a couple forms you can use to help you. The first one is an overhead sheet. MGE's overhead sheet is very thorough. We A lot of the ones I've seen in the industry don't cover a lot of categories. Ours covers just about everything. And you can download it by clicking the link in the description for this video. The other one is an overhead percentage by category for a general dentist. We actually broke down the categories of overhead, and then we actually have an expected percentage. And you can download that as well by clicking the link. And that's it for this week's tip. I'll see you back next week. I'm hoping to do more than one tip a week, and I'm getting a dirty look from my marketing director here because I have to keep up with that promise to get through this as quick as possible. But on my next tip, I'll start picking up on payroll expense. Now, here at MGE, we do these tips at least weekly, hoping to do more than once a week here, as I mentioned. And if you'd like to see more tips like this, don't forget to click subscribe up here in the right-hand corner. It's my left. And you'll get notified as these tips come out every week. Thank you very much, and I'll see you back next week.